Hey y'all, what's up? It's your host, Ashley L. with I'm the Mama podcast, where we discuss the ins, the outs, and everything in between of being a mom. I'm so happy to have you join me today as we are going to be discussing a topic that by now, either most of us have either experienced or we know someone who has, but it's different when we are involving a little one. And so, of course, before we begin, I want to give a shout out to our village, right? My family, our village is amazing. All right. They are continuously there. They're always willing to help out when we need them. And, we just have an amazing village. And I'm so full of gratitude when I think about our village, how helpful they've been, within the transition of becoming parents and then just supporting us throughout parenthood so far. And so, again, just want to say, thank you to our village. It extends farther beyond our immediate family, but we also consider our friends family as well. So again, we are just very grateful for you all. Um, but I want to talk about COVID, y'all. I entitled this topic, Shoo COVID, Don't Bother Me, because I don't want it, and I definitely don't want it while having a child, while having a little one, because he's so young still. He's now 15 months where he can't express or he can express himself, but he obviously is in the process of learning verbal. And so I had some various, fears of my own when it comes to babies getting sick. So the ones that I've heard of course, is, oh, okay, girl, keep looking out for, when he has an ear infection. Cross my fingers. Thankfully, we have not experienced that amongst his journey of teething. We have not experienced any major earaches, ear infections, or anything like that. But what we have experienced is COVID. And not only did we experience COVID once so far, but we've experienced it twice, y'all. And so the first time that we got COVID was literally going into the new year of 2022. One thing, just to give you a backstory, which I know, if you've heard my other episodes, you've heard it. We've pretty much been dependent on being in the home, in the house. When it comes to, stepping out, to grab something to eat, more than likely, we're not sitting in the restaurant. It's going to be brought back home. We've been sanitizing, we've been, washing our hands, which is something we should do anyways before COVID, but even more so, doing it more often, washing our clothes with the different type of bacteria killers and things like that. Like, we've been just doing everything, but yet, yes, we have gotten COVID twice. So again, like I mentioned, the first time was going into 2022. We got COVID. My husband got it first, and then he ended up passing it to our son, and boom, mama got it from there because, again, dad's in isolation, and then from that moment, baby given a lot of love and things like that. It's pretty much, no way that I can get around not getting it. And then the second time was recently. You can even probably hear it in my voice where I don't have it anymore. I continue to test negative, but this last one was where the symptoms is that very harsh cough. And my goodness, like, it just won't go away, the soreness of my throat, as far as, when it comes to speaking and things like that. And so I'm still battling with that part, but thankfully we don't have COVID anymore, right? But, the two times that we have had COVID so far as a household, our village has really just stepped in. That's why I just wanted to acknowledge them in the beginning and just say thank you, because they stepped in to make sure, again, that we had food, that we had sanitizers and things that we needed to keep our home clean. They multiple calls and text messages of check-ins and seeing how we're doing, now this most recent one telling us about different kinds of prescriptions that are out there, that we can inquire about, some that may work for us and some that may not. And then of course, one of my favorite is home remedies, things that we can do here at the house, different concoctions that we can make to help reduce our symptoms so we can get back to being the better us that we know that we were ready to be at. So interestingly, I know I just talked about the prescription. So I had to do, because like I said, that cough was just so severe. Like you couldn't even lay down and go to sleep at night because you're literally coughing the entire night, right? And so, I had a few people tell me, hey, they have this new prescription that you should definitely check out. Biden just took a prescription when he had it, and it knocked his symptoms out quick. Right. So, me, I'm like, I want to get back to being able to give our son all of me while we're sitting here in quarantine, because fortunately, both times, my son did not miss a beat, y'all. He was in great spirits. The only thing he may have had is, he's sneezing here or coughing there. But as far as actually any symptoms of being sick, any like crying or, just needing more rest, more fluids. Of course, we kept him with his water and things like that. But yeah, he didn't miss a beat. So that's the thing too. We couldn't even tell that he was sick, which was a blessing. You know, I couldn't even imagine him going through the symptoms that we were going through the way that we were going through it. So again, even amongst having COVID twice, our situation has been better than I expected because he was just good. And I say this Taurus of ours he's a bull, like he's a fighter. And again, he's always in great spirits. And so again, I can't say anything but blessings about that part. But yeah, when getting it still it's a little bit more challenging because now no one can come in, help take care of him. We have to figure work out now. Fortunately, my husband and I both work from home, but now we have to figure out a schedule because again, we can't have anyone else coming here. We definitely don't want anyone else to contract COVID knowingly that we have it and things like that. So we're going to talk about it. But first, I want to start out with a statistic. Okay. When it When talking about COVID, let me just say this really quick before I give this statistic. We know this mess. I call it mess. Hopefully, none of you take offense to it, but it's been running rampant, right? It's been around for over 2 years now, even though we thought it was going to be short term. It's been taking place over 2 years now. Now, even though the combos have lessened, I'm in Atlanta, so life is still going out here. The clubs are still popping. The brunches are still going. The events are still taking place because I do understand we have to get back to life and not just stay in our houses all the time as a society. Now, for me, I make a choice of what what I want to do here personally, and I'm okay with staying in the house. But I understand that society is like, hey, we have to eventually just get back to life, companies are being affected and things like that. So even though a lot to me has lightened up when it comes to COVID, it's still out here running rampant. So please don't be deceived. And again, it just goes right into these statistics. So according to the American Academy of Pediatrics, all right, nearly 14.3 million children are reported to have tested positive for COVID-19 since the onset of the pandemic, according to available state reports. Now, that first statistic, according to available state reports, now we know that throughout all of this, we've seen not all reports are not all cases are being reported, right? Like for even instance, me, we took our test, but we didn't report it. We know we have COVID. We're going to stay in the house and do what we need to do. So I'm sure the numbers are a lot higher is what I'm saying here. All right. In addition to those numbers, almost 371,000 of these cases have been added in the past 4 weeks. This is to date, guys. This is to date, people, in the past 4 weeks. And then on top of that, approximately 6.4 million reported cases have been added in 2022 alone. So out of that 14.3 million that I just mentioned, 6.4 million reported cases have been added in the year of 2022 alone. We're in month 8 right now. So to me, that those numbers was just like insane just to think about it. I mean, I know again, we have higher numbers than that, but it's just like, wow, 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 just to see those numbers and to talk about those numbers. And so to talk about us and our situation, most recently we went on vacation, decided to do a family trip to Cancun, which was so amazing. I'm so glad we took the steps and went ahead and did it because we had a great time. And being able to see the smile on our son's face, him enjoying all of the amenities that the resort had for him to enjoy, from eating to pools to fun. It was just a lot of activities for the family itself. So it was great. But, to me, I when deciding to have this trip or to take this trip, I built up some different worries and anxieties. All right. So the reason being is because he's too young to wear a mask, and now with getting on airplanes, being in airports, you have a choice as to whether you want to wear your mask or not. Now, I'm not knocking anyone who is against wearing masks. I'm just talking about my personal opinion and my personal worries, right? So he's too young. Dad and I, of course, are staying protected, having our masks, washing our hands, sanitizing when we couldn't actually get to sinks and things like that. But it's interesting because it seems like when you're in public places, you hear more coughs, no more sneezing. People were blowing their nose. And it to me, it was just like, it just seemed so extra because I'm like, it seems like everyone around us is coughing right now. Everyone is blowing their nose, sniffing of some sort. And I was worried, you know? I we wanted to protect him as best as possible. Again, taking precautions for ourselves, but also, what could we do for him? And there wasn't much other than wiping off everything, making before he touched it. Or, at points of times we would put him close to us, like pretty much on our chest while we were walking, maybe through a group, a crowd or something like that. But, and then first and foremost, just covering ourselves with prayer. That was the main thing that we could have control over, is covering ourselves with prayer, just knowing that we would be okay. But that was something that I experienced as far as just being worried on this trip that we took, going there and coming back. Like, what if he, based off of him not having mask and any type of facial protection, um, came in contact. We were around somebody and got it. Fortunately, didn't seem like that was the case, but that was, again, something that was just on my mind. I'm always choosing window seats. I want to see what's going on outside. And then even more so in this case, I want him as far away from as the other people as he can be. So he was at the window enjoying sleep in mommy's lap, things like that. So it ended up being a very good trip, very good travel and things like that. But again, those are just things that were, in my mind while we were traveling. So again, as I mentioned, both times of getting it, he was just in positive spirits, no major symptoms. And I just couldn't even imagine him going through what we've been through. But we've been, again, trying to keep our contact levels low with other people. You know, my husband pretty much leaves the house just to go to the grocery store and to exercise. Every now and then we will go and, whether it be to a friend's house or, see family, things like that. But it's not common because, again, we're just trying to make sure because we don't want this thing to keep coming. I mean, nobody likes getting a cold. Nobody likes getting the flu. And I definitely don't like getting COVID, even though, they are trying to put it in the same category. It's still not something that anybody wants to have, right? So interestingly, they have this new term that is called coronaphobia. Now, it did come out in 2020, but it's pretty much the anxiety specific to COVID-19. And so I wasn't diagnosed by a provider or, a doctor or anything, but I will say that is something that I battled with when the pandemic happened. More so, I was good when the pandemic first happened because I was staying at home. But when I became pregnant, that's when the coronaphobia really started. When he was delivered in here, that's when it really took effect. Where, we were okay with hanging out with friends pretty much on a weekly basis. And then it became, let's put some space in between just so, we can make sure that we're staying clear of different things taking place, right? But that coronaphobia is no joke. And like I mentioned, even though I'm self-diagnosed, it's not something that I'm proud of, but I think it's something that a lot of us experience. And again, like I said, especially with, bringing new life into this world. Okay. And so it is what it is. Like I mentioned, I'm still kind of dealing with it. But at the same time, I'm trying to go work through it because I do understand, as I always mention, trying to be the best me. I cannot allow this anxiety to stop me from wanting to do things as a family, as a household, taking him to parks, letting him see different things about the world, seeing people as he grows older, just not keeping him isolated where he is, could develop, antisocial skills and things like that. So I'm coming around slowly but surely, but it is happening. And I'm not afraid to acknowledge that. It is what it is, right? So at this point, I feel, it's wanted that, everyone really contracts COVID at this time because they want you to develop those antibodies. But, this thing isn't a joke. Like I mentioned, this is 2 weeks ago having it, definitely negative, but still dealing with a few different throat issues because of it. So it's just out here. But, I do know that the CDC did lessen COVID recently. Again, it was interesting. The last time we got COVID, I think that's the same thing that happened, but they placed it in the category of colds and flus. And I like I mentioned, I don't like being sick. I don't know anybody who likes being sick, but at the same time, it's one thing for being sick yourself. You can rest. You can take all the medicines that you need because you're not nursing, and you can take the time that you need to get better. But it's another thing to experience being sick while having a child and a little one who's relying on you for their day to day. That part doesn't stop, right? So it's a little bit more challenging to be able to do those things because you can't just lay in bed all day. You can't. They still need to be fed. They still want to have the activities and the fun. And as far as our son, he loves reading books. So he wants to read multiple books a day. Yes, you want to still keep them on the routine that you have them on because it only will benefit you both. For instance, our son, he takes 2 naps a day, gratefully. So during those times is when I was able to try to get me some rest or just relax. Because like I mentioned at night, wasn't getting no sleep at all. So just trying to relax, I didn't take medicines, or harsh medicines, or like ibuprofens and things like that. Like I mentioned, even when it came to talking to the provider, the medicine um, that Biden was taking, I couldn't take it. I couldn't be prescribed it because, one, because of how new it was. There's not enough data. Secondly, I'm still nursing. And so it wasn't recommended, because this specific prescription is if you are experiencing mild to moderate symptoms that are becoming severe. Cool. I appreciate it. I don't want it. And so I was end up prescribed two different prescriptions that were very, very low in dosage, that wouldn't affect him. But I still stayed clear. I would nurse him first, because now, fortunately, we're at the point where he's only nursing one time in the morning and one time at night. And even now, hey, baby's growing. We're going through the weaning phase. He's only nursing at night now. But anyways, he was nursing once in the morning, once at night. So I would nurse him first, then take the prescription. That way I had hours and hours and drinking a lot of water for it to work itself through my body, but also be able to get it out of my body as well before having to nurse him at night for bed. All right. Now I know some moms may be like, hey, I'm not touching any medicines at all because I just don't know. And I totally understand and definitely support it. I was at that point as well. I won't even take ibuprofen or anything like that, just because of things like that, because I don't want anything to get into his body that may affect his body through me. But at that moment, it wasn't shaking. This COVID wasn't shaking like I needed it to. And so we just had to do some different things, again, because I wasn't getting any rest at night and it was affecting me during the day as well. Still had good energy. I try to keep that up, not letting my son really see the changes of how I'm feeling and things like that. But I needed something to just help reduce that cough, because again, I didn't want his symptoms to get any worse because of mine as well. You feel me? And so, what I want to talk about next is just some various steps that we do here in our home to help keep our son's immune system strong. So again, not pushing anything to anyone, but again, I think it's important just to share the things that we do here as a household that could really be the beneficial reason as to why he's been doing good both times, right? So we give him D3 drops within his food. The instructions, because he's under 2, is to get it once a day. So I typically provide it in his breakfast, just that way it's working through his system the entire day. So D3 drops. Another thing that we do is making sure that he has like a well-balanced diet, throughout the day, for his breakfast, his lunch, his snacks, his dinner. He doesn't really get, he really only eats like natural sugars and things like that. I don't really use salt on his food. It's seasoned, but I don't really use salt on his food. And he drinks plenty of water. His bottle, his big boy bottle, is with him all day long, because as he's playing and things like that, as he's reading, as he's doing his activities, and it's of course while he's eating, he's drinking water. So he's actually been getting up to like 2 9-ounce cups of water a day, which is great. And I hope that just continues to increase for him as well. I make sure that he stays active daily. So like I was mentioning earlier, even though I wasn't feeling the best, I had to make sure that he stayed on his schedule, because I wanted to keep him active, where he's just running around, moving around, playing, breathing, things like that. Or heavily using his lungs instead of just the normal, breaths, with him moving around a lot more, he's breathing a lot heavier, just like we do when we work out. We work out to really strengthen our lungs and things like that. And so same thing for him. We try to just keep him active every single day. He's walking now, trying to make sure that he's walking as much as he can, even outside, doing some exploring things. and just keeping him engaged and active. Okay. And then another thing that we do is we make sure that he gets enough sleep. So, like I mentioned earlier, he's still taking his 2 naps a day. Yes, I'm grateful for it. And then he also sleeps about anywhere between 11 to 13 hours a night. We're blessed. I know. I know. But yes, making sure that he gets his sleep at night. And again, throughout the day, just so he is well rested, because surprisingly, again, that's one reason I end up getting the prescription, is because I wasn't getting sleep. And one thing to assist with helping you heal and just to keep your immune system, I don't even think people realize, in order, a major part of your immune system staying strong is getting this necessary sleep that you need. Right. And so it's important that he's getting the rest that he needs as well. And then, of course, the obvious, just making sure to avoid people who are sick, washing our hands, washing his hands. He now knows how to wash his hands. At first, we were doing the little antibacterial hand wipes, and then we moved forward with, putting soap on a wipe and actually cleaning his hands. Now he's at the sink washing his hands, knowing the importance of front and back and just really cleaning his hands himself. So making sure that he's cleaning his hands after getting off of the ground and the floor and touching different things before he eats, things like that. And he's a baby. He's a toddler. He's still putting things in his mouth, putting his hands in his mouth and things like that every now and then. So again, we have to make sure we're consistently washing his hands. He's touching more stuff now that he's walking as well. So again, sanitizing various doorknobs. And, I think we're cleaning the house more now than we did when it was just my husband and I. And it's important because, again, now he is around touching more things that we may not have normally touched. And so it's important, even in regards to your floors, to keep your floors clean and vacuumed and disinfected and things like that as well. And then again, like I just mentioned, your cell phones. I don't know if your little one is like mine, but he loves touching mommy and daddy's cell phones. So I think that's one that a lot of people look over. Your remote controls, wiping those down every day, every single day. Because again, your cell phone is nasty. My son loves playing with my cards. So thinking about going to the store, handing my card, putting it into different inserts and things like that, tapping it onto the thing, I wipe him down because he enjoys playing with them. And I don't mind him playing with them. I just want to make sure that they're clean when he is playing with them. And then again, the last thing, these are the things that, we have implemented for our son, but just making sure that we follow it day to day and making sure that his caregivers that watch him follow the same things day to day. Right. And so that is, the big shebang for today. Again, I hope you enjoyed today's episode just as much as I did in regards to planning and getting the content together, because again, I think it's just something that's overlooked just because now it's like a norm, a new norm. But at the same time, it's still running rampant. And if we can reduce the amount of times that we experience it and our little ones experience it, it will possibly help out longevity wise. Again, I don't believe everything that I hear report wise. I don't. But at the same time, again, no one enjoys being sick regardless of what it is. And so just wanting to share our recommendations on, the things and helpful tips of the things that we do in hopes that, if it's not something that you're already doing, then maybe it's something that you can look to incorporate. And if not, then you may tweak it a little bit to what your lifestyle is. But again, sharing is caring. So I think it's very important. Now, I'm not going to leave without an inspirational quote of the day. And so for today, the quote is, "A mother's love for her child is like nothing else in the world. It knows no law, no pity. It dates all things and crushes down remorselessly all that stands in its path." And this is by Agatha Christie. And I think that speaks for itself. Like, as mothers, we will do any and everything for our little one. right? There's no mountain too high that our kids can't expect us to climb with them, right? No valley too low that we are not willing to go through with them. But as long as we're staying engaged and keeping up with them, and just learning them as they continue to learn us, develop with them as they continue to develop into who they are going to grow to be, that's the best thing that we can do for our children. Okay. And so I do want to thank you all for tuning in today as we discuss COVID. Shoo, COVID, don't bother me. And I want to make sure that you take out the time to subscribe, be sure to go like, follow, share, because the information that we've gone over today can definitely help someone else. And again, it's all about networking in regards to just spreading the information and being blessings to each other in a virtual aspect. And so again, be sure that you take the time out to tune in to our next episode. And like I mentioned, I'm in the process of weaning our son. He's now, as of a week now, is down to one nursing. The other ones he did on his own. He weaned himself off. We were at 5 to 6 nursings a day. He knocked out 3 on his own. So then we end up having the morning and the evening and then in the bedtime. And every now and then during the day, again, with the teething phase, the only thing is that, he didn't go through or he's not going through any major ear issues, but he would want his milk. So now, as of a week ago, he's now down to just the nighttime, and definitely had to get dad involved with that. Because this mornings, every morning, he's like, where's my milk? Milk, 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 milk. Because, he does sign language as well as speaks. Milk, milk, milk. And I had to remove myself. So now in the mornings, our son sees me and I say, good morning, sing our little good morning song, but mommy keeps moving. I have to, because otherwise he's going to get fussy and he's going to want his milk. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we can start weaning off of the nighttime. But that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about nursing, the, good, the challenging, and the sad, because I didn't realize that this was going to be emotionally affecting me. And so we're going to get into it. But, as always, please be sure to keep your head up, because your little one is watching you and admiring you, and continue to take care of yourself. And as always, I look forward to seeing you next time. Your host, Ashley L. on the Mama Podcast. See ya.